Did you know that the pain you feel might not always mean that there's damage to your body? Hi, I'm Leanne from Young in Motion, and I'm here to let you know that there are things that you might be able to do to help you get rid of your pain just by understanding a little bit about how pain actually works in the body. This research is actually relatively recent, and so you may have more influence about how painful you experience your body to be each day by having a better understanding of your pain. Many of us have been taught to interpret pain strictly as a signal of physical damage. But what if I told you that pain is much more about protection than it is about harm? Because our pain system is actually an alarm system. It's actually not, as we traditionally think about it, as a meter. It's actually thought of as a thermometer in the past. But as we come to have a better understanding of pain through research and lots of experiments on people's sensitivity to pain, we're beginning to understand that pain is actually more like a freeze protection thermostat than a thermometer. So, what if understanding your pain could transform your life without a single medication? Can you imagine what that would be like? No need for pills, no need to even think about the side effects of what you might be putting into your body, just because you have a better understanding of pain and what you could do about it. Because we're beginning to unravel some of the mysteries of pain, and by using that understanding, we can guide your body back into the joy of movement again. So it's time to explore a new paradigm where hurt doesn't always signal harm. So what am I actually talking about? Well, our pain is really a way of protecting us from damage. It's like how a thermostat, a freeze protection thermostat, will actually trigger the building's heating system so that your pipes don't end up getting frozen. And how does it do that? Because we have settings within our thermostat, like we have settings for sensations in our body. We used to think that our body's pain systems were just a thermometer gauging whether there was a lot of damage to our body or no threat of damage at all. So when we were getting damaged, we'd immediately feel pain, and therefore we would put ourselves in positions where we don't get that pain anymore, and therefore we don't damage our tissues any longer. But as we experiment more, we're realizing that what actually happens is that our body uses pain as a way of warning us to either stop doing what might be threatening to our body, or to start doing things that will take us away from the threat. This is otherwise known as a fight or flight response, and it's triggered by what's called our sympathetic nervous system, where most of our voluntary movements that we choose to do are activated by our peripheral nervous system. This is more like an automatic response, so that we are not going to be under the influence of something that is going to be a threat to either our lives or our tissues. But in the days of no longer needing to run away from saber-toothed tigers and scary animals, we now respond to things that make us anxious, like the threat of losing a job or the threat of being thought of as a pariah on social media. A thermometer is different to a thermostat because a thermometer just measures and reflects the temperature of the environment. So if the room is hot, it tells us it's hot. If the room is cold, it tells us it's cold. It only measures what the temperature is like. It offers us no ability to change it. And that's why we're realizing that because we can actually influence our pain systems by influencing our environment and how we respond to our environment, we can actually influence how we experience pain. And how does it do it like a thermostat? Well, a thermostat is actually a temperature setter. It actively regulates the temperature by an atmosphere of a home by sensing what the temperature is. And when it's getting close to where it might freeze the pipes, it might trigger some other parts of the system to heat up those pipes so we don't get to a situation where the pipes might be damaged. So it promptly adjusts to restore our balance. And our pain system is like that because when our tissues get a high sensory input for something, like we might be getting very tired in our muscles, or we might find we've got a lot of pressure on our skin, or our joints are either too bent or too straight and at risk of damaging our ligaments or our muscles. Our body then gets us to move in ways or react in ways where we experience pain and we stop putting ourselves in those positions or in the environment where our tissues might get damaged. And therefore, it's not just reactive, it's actually responsive. How can we do that? Well, by being respectful of our body's signals to us. So rather than trying to wait until the pain gets really high and we feel that very high sensation, whether that be a high amount of pressure or a high amount of fatigue, or that our joints are really sore from doing too much work, like housework or too much manual work, we actually notice when we're getting quite sore and we pull back and have enough rest. Or we stop putting ourselves in that environment so that our tissues can relax and get less stimulation and therefore not be at risk of damage. So if we understand more about what our body is trying to tell us and we respond in an appropriate way, our body can then relax the sensitivity of our thermostat for pain. And it means that we've got a wider buffer zone in which we can experience sensations without interpreting that sensation as pain. So it's a bit like the thermostat. If the freeze setting triggers once the pipes are frozen, it's just too late and will damage the pipes. So the person organising this thermostat will actually get the sensors to trigger so that we start heating the pipes when the temperature is read in the instance of that kind of thermostat, say at 5 degrees rather than 0 degrees. So like in our bodies, we set our sensitivities to, instead of, if we don't take heed of our joints, for instance, we go well beyond the point at which is comfortable and safe for our joints, and we do that consistently, then our body will say, well, we'll have to give a bigger buffer. So they'll set us at experiencing pain when we're less in that joint position that's damaging, and therefore we feel it a bit earlier. But if we consistently read true or warn our body of the potential for damage, then the body learns to trust the sensation and it can dial down the experience so that we only interpret a sensation as painful when we actually get close to the damaging point, because we don't need that big buffer anymore, because we are interpreting that sensation fairly accurately in terms of protecting us from damage. So if you would like more information about what you can do and have a better understanding of pain so that you may experience less of it and enjoy life a lot more, either subscribe to our newsletter or keep checking through to our blog or put this in your feed, and we'll be happy to give you more information and more education so you can live a life more joyfully and feel young in motion.